Known for their suffocating defense, the Spartans face a major offensive question heading into the season. The UNCG team preview starts now. All right, here's the recurring theme, Darren. We know it, and I know Mike Jones is tired of hearing about it, but we know defense is going to be the theme. We know it's going to be a defense that's going to be playing at elite level, but at the end of the day, it comes down to Asheville and another disappointing early exit this past season in Asheville is the number 2 seed as VMI is able to somehow upset the Spartans there. And again, the frustration level has to be at an all-time level for Mike Jones, especially the poor performances in Asheville.
It is. It's you feel for them because they have put together some really good rosters and have been very successful over the last number of years. But for some reason, they just seem to have this hiccup in Asheville. And last year, I don't know, I thought last year was potentially going to be a little bit different. I liked the makeup of the roster. They were long. They were athletic. They were tough. They were a tough matchup for a lot of teams in the league.
Tough backcourt, all of that, which is typical of Mike Jones's teams.
Certainly. I mean, and he does a great job. I mean, his teams they're going to be physical. They're going to battle you. You're going to have to grind it out against a Mike Jones team. And so you hope for him that he can find a way to get over the hump. And it is frustrating when you are judged kind of by how you do in Asheville because look, another 20-win season, 13-5 in the league.
Exactly. And so you have to be careful as far as, and even for us, to just only emphasize the loss in Asheville because, yes, as disappointing it is, again, second in the league, you're 13-5. You're getting double-digit wins in the conference year in and year out. And for a team to get to 20 wins for the entire season, I mean, you've got to understand how significant that is, especially a mid-major program. So as much as we talk about the loss in Asheville and the losses in Asheville, we have to give credit to Mike Jones as always being there, I should say, as a consistent thorn in people's side in the Southern Conference and a team that can compete at the top of the conference.
Certainly. I mean, look, they have been part of that upper echelon of the league here since Mike Jones has been there. And, it's interesting because we always talk about, in another cliche, defense wins championships, and it's true. But, and you referenced it when we first started, you have to be able to have a certain amount of stability offensively.
You do.
Where, look, if a team's hitting some shots and maybe you're not quite at your best that day defensively, you have to be able to put the ball in the basket enough, especially the way the game has changed today, to be able to make up for some of those nights where you just don't necessarily have it.
That's right.
Defensively.
Yeah, well, and sometimes the other players, they get hot. They're in that zone. And how many times have we seen, it didn't matter what defense was being played. They couldn't miss. They just were in that zone, whatever it is, in that groove. But we have seen Mike Jones teams in terms of defensive efficiency, top of the list, especially in the Southern Conference. And even you talk about looking at it from a national perspective in defensive adjusted percentages there, ranked 15th nationally. I mean, this guy is continuing to put those type of defenses together. 15th in field goal percentage defense, 40%, right there. 25th in scoring defense, only allowing 65 points per game. And again, then you flip to the other side. It's where you need to make the improvement on the offensive side and especially the offense efficiency. Because again, you're going to have to be able to score at times.
Certainly. And, the way they play is very interesting as it relates to most of the rest of the league because they want to play a lower possession game. Most of the teams in the league want to get up and down a little bit more. They want to play much more in the half court. Obviously, last year they shot the ball well from three, but they haven't necessarily always been, hey, we're going to have a bunch of high-level three-point shooting around here. We're gonna grind you out in the half court. And they've had some physical guys inside that could really score inside. And so it is interesting to see, when you have kind of that contrasting style, you've got to be able to put together that offense that, frankly, in an offensive-oriented league, especially from the perimeter, that can put points on the board.
That's right, because we've also seen other defenses in the Southern Conference that can, on certain nights, play at that elite level. There's no doubt, and the physicality at times, especially in the backcourt from other teams. And that's why it's so imperative that you have the ability to have players on your roster when all hell breaks loose, when everything is falling apart, they can just go get a bucket.
Yep.
And I think that's what has been missing from UNCG, and especially when you see it come in Asheville, because that's where it is magnified in terms of having some guys that step up in those moments and say, you know what, this is not happening today.
Yeah.
I'm going to take over this game. And not to say there hasn't been some talent. I mean, we'll look at some of the voids now. You lose Donovan Atwell, again, a guy who averaged almost 14 points per game, 96 three-pointers made there last year. And then you got Kenyon Giles, a scorer in terms of what you saw last year, and Ronald Polite, again, 13 points per game right there. So you're losing your top three scorers. And also with that, it's your primary perimeter threats.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking three of those guys, 40+% from three last year.
Yes.
And so, like I said, last year, one of the reasons why I was really intrigued by this group was I thought they had the perimeter shooting and the perimeter scoring.
It just didn't happen consistently. And that's what we've talked about. It's you had the ebbs and flows. So when they were on, they were on.
Yeah.
Lights out, and they could get hot quickly. But it was just some of those dips and some of those key moments, and maybe not even so much like an entire game. It would just be in a stretch. And that's where some of these teams were able to make those runs.
And when you play with the pace that they play with, you can't afford to have those stretches because you're just not going to be able to get enough possessions back to be able to do that. And so I think you make a really good point there of, can they get moving forward, can they get that level of consistency offensively where they know that they're going to get it every night? And if that defense is locked in the way that Coach Jones teaches and plays defense, I mean, watch out.
Oh, yeah. Only giving up 65 points per game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost absurd when you think about what we see tempo and pace and scoring potential,
especially in
the Southern Conference. I mean, that's a testament to how good of a coach Mike Jones is, and being able to slow some of these teams down. Now, can you make that next step? Again, you're losing a lot there. And so this is one of those, you're having to rebuild from the transfer portal perspective, and, looking at even limited guys coming back. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head here. This is a full roster rebuild here.
Yes.
I mean, there are no impact players returning on this roster.
You've got Demetrius Davis coming back. Now, he averaged just over 7 points per game. But again, I think there's some consistency issues.
Certainly.
He's versatile, but you've got to be much more consistent.
Certainly, yes. I think that's a great point that you bring up with Demetrius Davis coming back. So you do have him who has played a significant role on that roster before. But certainly from the perimeter, you were having to hit the complete reset button. And some of the teams we've talked about have had significant overhauls, but they've at least brought one or two key pieces back, if not more. So this is really the first time that Coach Jones has had to have this level of overhaul to the roster, because you had, for a number of years, you had stability with the Langley brothers.
My goodness, yes. They stayed there forever.
Oh, man.
We've even talked about that previously.
Yeah, Dean brought that up during our conversation.
That's right.
And so they've had a level of consistency. Even Atwell was there for a number of years in the backcourt. So, I am excited as we kind of move into what that roster looks like. I'm really excited to see what Donald Whitehead Jr. looks like.
No doubt.
You talk about a high-level Division II Player of the Year in the PSAC, the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. He's got a chance to step in right away, I think, and be an all-league caliber player.
Oh, no doubt about it. And again, as you talked about, he's transferring from Cal UPA. And again, that is a nationally recognized Division II program that's competing for national championships on a consistent basis. Averaged almost 20 points per game and almost 4 assists per game. So you would imagine he's going to step right into that starting point guard position and run this offense for the Spartans.
I think you're spot on. And I having some familiarity with the PSAC, it is much more of a slower-ish paced league where you're going to have some physicality. And so, without seeing Whitehead play too much in the past, he strikes me as the type of guy that Coach Jones wants in there at that point guard spot that's going to bring a level of offensive and defensive toughness, and a guy that's done it before. And as we've talked about on other episodes, Division II guys have had some very good success in the Southern Conference.
They have. Now, when you played at Mercyhurst, were you guys slowing it down?
Oh, you want to talk about one of the slowest paces in the country. Coach Gary Manchell.
Get stuck in mud, huh?
He does a phenomenal job. We were in a different league at the time. They went to the PSAC 2 years after we left. But Coach Manchell does a phenomenal job, especially defensively. We were always nationally ranked in terms of defensive efficiency. We held teams in the low 60s. Now, we didn't score much above the 70s most nights. But we played at a slow pace for sure at Mercyhurst.
All right. So you were the ringleader of that defense, though, right?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. These feet moved really well laterally.
That lateral quickness from Darren Angel.
Yeah. Might have been able to put it in the basket a little bit from deep, but the feet did not move very well laterally.
I can empathize with you 1,000%. All right. Justin Neely, transfer from Albany. This will be interesting from a wing perspective, and can you have a guy playing that 3 position and give you production on both sides, obviously on the defense, but also in terms of scoring and rebounding. This is a guy that can have an impact for Mike Jones.
No, certainly. And look, he brings great size from the perimeter. Yeah. He was the 6th man of the year in the America East last year, so a guy that's been able to do it and do it with consistency. I would anticipate, again, another guy that probably is going to be a hallmark of athleticism and length on the wings for Coach Mike Jones. And I would anticipate him being able to be a starter right away and a guy that kind of comes in, and we've talked about this before as well, kind of a calming piece to the roster that just kind of gives you consistency night in and night out. May not ultimately be the guy that's going to average 15 a night for you, but he's going to do a lot of the little things, and frankly do enough at an above average clip that he's going to end up making an impact for this roster this year.
And another guy that I think you could even put in that category, stabilizer, veteran type of guy, that's Valentino Pinedo, that's transferring from St. Francis of PA. And we know St. Francis of PA made the decision to drop down to Division III. But I called the game last year in Clemson with St. Francis PA and the Tigers. And I remember distinctly saying several times on the broadcast, okay, Pinedo, this is a guy, and he was having some success against Clemson.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, if you're able to compete at that high major type of level, there's no doubt that he's going to be able to translate over here into the Southern Conference. And I think this could be a piece right here. He's a very skilled forward, average almost 11 points per game, almost 7 rebounds per game.
Yeah.
But the big key, he shot almost 60% from the field.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy knows how to find the basket and put it in the basket.
I think the two key stats that you mentioned there, and I agree with you. I think he is a guy that probably goes a little bit under the radar because of maybe the lack of the sexiness of the transfer. Mm-hmm. The 2 key things to me you mentioned: one, the rebounding. He rebounds well at his size, right?
Yes.
A lot of times
he's a little undersized.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of times you see guys that are 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", and they maybe come down a level, or up a level, whatever it might be, but they don't really rebound well for their size. They average 2 or 3 rebounds a game, and you're sitting there like, this dude's 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". Why are your rebounding numbers not good? This is a guy to me that it 6+ a game says he'll be physical. He does rebound well. He'll get in there and mix it up. And, the other thing that you mentioned is his ability to be a highly efficient scorer and shooting almost 60% from the field.
Yeah.
That matters.
That matters big time. And there's another Antoine Jones, an athletic wing from UCF. Now, there's been some injuries that have plagued him over the years. So that's interesting, though. Again, what his ceiling can be, especially if he's 100% healthy.
No, you mentioned it. Look, I mean, this is his 6th school.
Yeah.
But he was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school.
I know.
So there was something there at some point.
There's something there. Exactly. When will it come out?
Can it get channeled?
Yes.
His last year here for Mike Jones.
Yeah. And there's something to be said. I mean, again, I know some coaches would probably stay away from players that have a history like that. And I do understand, though, there is opportunity for second chances. Again, size is hard to teach and athleticism is hard to teach. So I think there's coaches that are a little bit more willing to kind of roll the dice. And I know that sounds so negative when I'm saying that, but there is something about, okay, let's see if this is the place where he blossoms.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, if you've kind of done your due diligence, I mean, this is a guy that you can take a chance on with a potentially low risk but really high reward.
High reward, yes, exactly. And I think that's a lot of these transfers are like that. I mean, you're looking for opportunities. Yes, can you have that high reward? Mm-hmm. And again, can they fit into your system? So at the end of the day, I mean, it's all going to be about, who's going to step up and be the leader and be able to understand Mike Jones's philosophy, what he's wanting to accomplish, and also buy into what Mike Jones is wanting to accomplish, especially on that defensive side. Because again, defense, you have to believe in the system. You have to be willing to go. And I do know, though, for Mike Jones, if you're not willing to play the defense that he wants, you're not seeing time on the court. No, that's just the reality of it.
You might as well pack up and figure out a 7th school at that point.
That's right.
And I think another guy too that's worth bringing up is Landon King.
Yes,
who's a JUCO transfer, 40+% 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
We talk about needing to replace 40+% 3-point shooters. I think this is a prime target right here to be a guy that can hopefully stretch the floor for you and provide some offensive firepower that will be needed.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how many coaches will start looking more to the JUCO route in terms of bringing guys in rather than just trying to, go to Division II or also, have a guy drop down from a high major. I think there's some talent on the JUCO side that can be utilized, and we're starting to see some more. And again, you have to be very careful because there's such a wide range in terms of JUCO competition and the levels.
Yes.
And so if you can be able to penetrate some of those high elite level type of JUCOs, you can find some diamonds in the rough.
Oh, certainly. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, look, if you can figure out a way to supplement your roster with a high level JUCO ad, and it fits, I mean, you can get some really good talent that might go below the radar, or frankly, maybe for academic reasons,
that's right,
you can't get into another school that really wants you badly. So, I do think, there's been a little bit of a push from the JUCO front because now with the NCAA, you're not, those years aren't necessarily counting, right? So you get a kid now who's played a year or two of JUCO ball, and you're getting
All right, so Mr. Lawyer, I'm going to put your lawyer hat on now. We'll take off the coaching hat, so the lawyer hat. So how realistic is that in terms of will that rule be changed, because guys are fighting it right now?
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing it, that I don't know if there's any way that the NCAA is going to be able to enforce that where the JUCO year does count, because I don't think it's going to happen because we're seeing the lawsuits.
It's just, I mean, the NCAA is just struggling so hard right now to be able to win anything right in court. And so, I mean, as of right now, you do have that opportunity to get that extra time. And so I don't necessarily see that changing anytime soon.
That's right.
And I think it potentially becomes a really interesting advantage for a place that can take a high level JUCO student
Oh,
athlete.
no doubt. And why wouldn't you fight it? I mean, right now, I mean, I know we get to that point where almost such a litigious society, lawsuit after lawsuit or, whatever. But right now, I mean, there's so much chaos, there's so much disarray. I think we're going to continue to see that. And at some point, and this is topic for another discussion, I can promise you, but there's going to have to be collective bargaining instituted. There's a lot of things that need to happen before we truly get to an understanding of what is enforceable, what is not, what's not, antitrust, all of those type of things. So we'll dive into that more. Let's get back to Mike Jones and his elite defense, because at the end of the day, that's what this team is built around, built upon. This is going to be the centerpiece. And the question is then, losing what you lost with all that scoring. Is Whitehead Jr., is he going to come in? Can he be that immediate type of impact player? It's those type of questions, again, because we just don't know right now.
No, and look, we can use some of the track record of Division II guys having success. You mentioned it. Cal PA is elite level Division II program that's had great success. So you would think he would be a guy that could come in right away and frankly probably be a first team all league guy, but there are just so many factors that play into it that it's really hard. And frankly, I think UNCG is really hard from a prediction perspective because it was a complete roster rebuild, as we talked about. And so, I'm hopeful for them that he can be that guy and keep this thing going, keep this level of success going for Coach Jones. But a lot of question marks here, certainly.
All right, non-conference schedule. Any surprising things that are of note for the Spartans here in 2025?
You look, you're going to get tested right away. You go to Manhattan, Kansas, and play in the as they call it, the Octagon of Doom. And have to play against the Kansas State team opening night on Tuesday, November 4th. So you're going to get tested right away. And look, K-State had an up and down year last year, not what they were expecting. I anticipate a pretty strong bounce back there. Basketball matters in Manhattan, Kansas. It does. So that's going to be a great test right away. And then a week later, you have to go to NC State. And to our listeners out there and everybody involved in the college basketball world, NC State's been a pretty big topic of discussion this offseason with Will Wade coming in. So I would anticipate that's going to be a really big test too. So you're going to get tested very quickly early on. And then you've got some really intriguing mid-major matchups against Youngstown State and Miami, Ohio, and UNC Asheville, who's had great success over the last number of years.
So Mike Morrell does a great job.
He does.
That Big South program.
He really does. And so, look, and you want to talk about contrast of styles with UNC Asheville and UNC Greensboro. That should be a great one right there. And then you open up conference play. Granted, you're home, but you open up against Chattanooga and Sanford. And so,
there's something to be said though. I almost like that. In terms of just from a fan perspective and from a Southern Conference perspective, come out of the gates swinging with some of these big matchups, these big games, and get the attention because fans are going to be hyped up. We know these fan bases are going to be hyped up all across the footprint of the Southern Conference. And so why not go ahead and let's start, at the end of December, early January with some of these big games.
Certainly. And I'll say this, as we've talked about defense with Coach Jones's teams. Granted, they're at home, so the cliche term of defense travels doesn't apply. But as it's taking longer for some of these teams to gel and get to their best because of so many new roster additions, defense is a little different potentially, right? And so your defense might be ahead of your offense.
That's right.
In terms of a chemistry perspective. And so defensively at home, if you can really lock in, you can maybe make up for some offensive inefficiencies that you may not have reached your peak yet. And look, it looks like they're moving on campus
I think
for
this
more of their
is
games.
Very
I agree.
intriguing, very interesting, and probably flying under the radar.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been notated a little bit more elsewhere. But seeing that they're going to be playing at Fleming Gymnasium there on campus, I think that's a smart move. I love the idea, the intimacy of it. Get your crowd into it. Get the students there. Get them hyped up. Get that place loud. And this sounds like I'm taking a shot at the Coliseum. Love the Coliseum.
Yeah,
all of that.
Historic venue.
But there's something to be said about having your crowd energizing your team or making it so disruptive for the opposing team. And sometimes I just don't know if the Coliseum provided that just because of the vastness.
Could not agree with you more. Look, there's great history at the Coliseum. Many great basketball games have been played and won there. Many great players have played in that facility. But they would have decent crowds and it would feel like nobody was there.
Right.
When I was at Furman, we'd go up there and it was cool because you're in the Coliseum, but the atmosphere was just very...
You need it packed.
Yeah.
You need it full to really experience what that Coliseum in Greensboro is all about.
That place is big.
Yes.
It holds a lot.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you. I think moving on campus, look, I have a sneaking suspicion that they can get close to filling that place up on campus.
Yes.
Now you start talking about, man, we could have a really nice home court advantage here.
No doubt.
And look, sprinkle in some games in the Coliseum.
Oh, yeah,
That's
of course.
awesome.
Yes.
It's a nice little recruiting
Yes, it
tool,
is.
among other things. But if you can play the majority of your games in a place that you can pack and it's going to be loud,
Yeah.
I think that's a great move for them.
No question about it. All right, so when you're looking at the Spartans here, again, can they be consistent on the defensive side, which we would expect they would be, but now can they replace their top three scorers and have a revamped backcourt, and can they improve offensively is definitely going to be one of the questions. And obviously, if you can do that from an offensive standpoint, maybe you can overcome your March struggles there in Asheville. But when you look at this team, the floor, where could this team finish?
Yeah, no, it's that this is an interesting one, right? Because I have a ton of faith in Coach Jones's ability to put a very competitive, hard-nosed, defensive-minded team on the floor that look, they're just always going to find a way to be competitive. But I think there are so many question marks coming into this year. I think, to me, floor could be as low as 6.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have too. And again, I love it. We don't talk about this. This is the one thing that we don't talk about. We want it just to come out how our gut tells us based on our research, our homework. And again, right now, it's a little difficult for some of these teams to truly evaluate, and most of them, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think if the offense struggles, then I could see them coming in at 6 as their floor, because I think their defense is going to be there.
Yeah, like, look, I think at the end of the day, they're a very good defensive team. Look, they guard the 3-ball well too, right?
That's right.
And when you guard the 3-ball well in this league, you're going to keep yourself in ball games, regardless of, how good or inept you are offensively, right? And it's not like they've been inept.
That's
we just
right.
want to see them kind of take
exactly
the next step.
That's right. And we know for certain Mike Jones is not going to be bringing in guys that he doesn't believe
certainly
are going to fit his mold and be able to play that perimeter defense and that suffocating defense. So, yeah, there's no doubt. All right, ceiling then.
Yeah.
This is another tough one.
See, I think ceiling for them is third.
Mm-hmm.
I think if these guys click, I think if Whitehead can do remotely close to what he did at the Division II level, you've got your guy. And the other guys that we talked about, you're able to put them in.
Yeah, if you can get Pinedo, if you get Neely, if you can get those guys being productive, and especially on the offensive side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. Third is, I think, in an easy landing spot for them if all of these things click, if all of these things come together, because again, the defense is going to be there. And again, they were second in the conference last year.
Right.
So, I mean, it's hard to think that they're going to fall too much past, third or fourth, even, if they have some struggles. But if they have significant struggles, then based on other teams in the conference, that's where they might drop down, because I think it's going to be bunched up right there in the middle pack of the conference.
I do too. I think that kind of like 3 through 6 is going to be,
it could be a game or two. That's it.
Absolutely. Look, how well did you play on last Wednesday night?
Yes.
Right. Like if you got a little bit of a hiccup one night, that could be the difference between 3rd and 6th.
Yes.
And so I agree with you. I think they're in that mix. That look, you're going to have to play well. We know it. If you don't play consistently in this league, it's going to be really hard to be part of that upper echelon. And frankly, consistency is one thing that Mike Jones has been able to bring to his UNCG rosters over the years. And that's why they've been in that upper echelon since he's been there.
Yeah. And at some point, they have to have the breakthrough.
They've got to.
They have to have that breakthrough because, I mean, there's only so many times that they're not. They have to break the statistical anomaly that's occurring.
Well, and to your point, what's potentially scary, right, is like when they break through, is that just the monkey off their back?
No doubt.
Where it's like, oh, okay, we got this one now. Watch out.
Yes.
Because, look, defense does still win.
Yeah.
And that team, look, that team defensively, they can really challenge you over the years. And that's not fun to have to deal with in a grinded out battle in Asheville.
Yeah, that's right. When
you're having to go figure out a way to put together 3 wins in 3 days. A slugfest is not necessarily what you're looking for in terms of trying to notch a victory. So I'm curious if they can get one.
Yes.
Does that momentum
it does
build?
I think there's something to be said about that. And I know all the Spartan fans definitely want that momentum. That is the UNCG team preview. And remember, hit that follow or subscribe button. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts, including the iHeartRadio app. Until next time, may all your jumpers hit nothing but the bottom of the net.